Also working this climate change protest by pupils across the country and various parts of the world is Pheladi Sethusa. Pheladi is joining us outside Parliament in Cape Town. Pheladi Younger saying that all was well at the demonstration she attended in the capital, Pretoria. What are the young people of the Western Cape saying to Parliament?
Sure, so it was actually quite well attended, a couple of hundred students here. It was the last day of school here, so people rushed off from school. They closed a bit earlier today at about 11, and they all came down here. So the young people we've managed to speak to today, saying that they're calling on government, ahead of elections particularly, to consider what they're doing about climate change and global warming in their policies. They've called, for instance, for 100% usage of renewable energy by the year 2030. They did have a small list, a short list of demands that they've handed over, but it was a very peaceful protest. They just stood here sort of singing, as you can hear from the background, singing with their placards, very quirky ones. One of my favorite ones that I saw was that the oceans are rising and so are we. So they're joining that global effort, that global action to have their voices heard as young people who will have to live in this world that they say are ruining.
This is a global effort, as you rightfully say, Pheladi. Do we know if the South African protesters are in any way in communication with those who began these protests in Sweden and elsewhere in the world?
So they're obviously very, very inspired by Greta Thunberg, the Swedish girl who started this whole action. They haven't had any sort of direct interaction with her, but again, some of them are mentioning to us that they are well aware that she's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and that's something that gives them a bit more hope in the fact that that they will gain traction. So they are speaking to each other, sort of locally. They say that they've been speaking to people in the Southern African region in terms of getting together and showing some support. We know that some of them are quite concerned that students in Uganda, for instance, weren't allowed to gather today because they had to get special permits for gathering as a group of more than 20. So they tried to push there, but unfortunately that didn't come together. So on the continent, at least, it seems they are speaking to each other, and they say that going forward in future they'll be doing this every Friday, maybe with not as big numbers, but as long as a little group can come together just to have their voices heard weekly.
Just very quickly, Pheladi, because it is getting increasingly loud where you're standing, is there a sense then that the protesters, these young people, are being heard by those in power?
So that's the thing. Again, no one particular from Parliament came out to receive their list of demands. So they just sort of handed it over to someone inside. So they haven't had an official response from anyone. But one of the organisers was telling us that leading up to this march, she has had some interaction with some political figures who have, said, let's sit down and have a chat about your concerns, see what young people are saying about climate change, because we are actually wanting to include them in the conversation and steering us in the right direction. So they are an apolitical formation right now, but are seemingly speaking to the right people behind closed doors.
ENC reporter Pheladi Sethusa tracking the Cape Town leg of today's global protest against climate change.